Welcome to our complete FIDIC Red Book training series. If you're a quantity surveyor, a site engineer, a planning engineer, or a project manager, you already know the deal. The construction industry is an absolute beast, and mastering the rules that govern it, well, it's absolutely crucial for your career. So, in this comprehensive explainer series, we're going to master the foundations of international construction contracts together. We'll be completely demystifying the clauses, the conditions, and the actual practical applications of these documents. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here's our roadmap for today. 1. Welcome to FIDIC. 2. Why use standard contracts. 3. The FIDIC Rainbow Suite. 4. Evolving rules, 1987 versus 1999. And finally, 5. Your contractual foundation.
Let's kick things off with Section 1. Welcome to FIDIC. Look, we all know construction is an inherently risky environment, right? You've got massive capital on the line, literally countless moving parts, and very often international teams coming together who might operate under completely different local customs. So, at a fundamental level, a contract is a legally binding agreement between two or more parties. It legally binds everyone and allocates that massive risk across the board. If there's a breach, it allows the innocent party to obtain a legal remedy or compensation for their loss. But ask yourself this. How on earth do we standardize complex, multi-million-dollar construction agreements on a global scale? I mean, how can professionals with totally different native languages, working under entirely different national laws, possibly agree on a massive allocation of risk without starting from scratch and, arguing over every single clause every single time? The answer is FIDIC. That stands for the International Federation of Consulting Engineers. They are essentially the gold standard. They publish these internationally recognized standard forms of construction contracts that clearly define the rights, the responsibilities, and the risk allocations between the employer, the engineer, and the contractor. And these are used all over the world for infrastructure, roads, buildings, bridges, airports, you name it. Moving on to Section 2, why use standard contracts? Now, you might be wondering, why not just hire a team of lawyers to write up a bespoke contract for every new project? Well, using a standard form like FIDIC brings some pretty incredible advantages. First and foremost, you get balanced risk allocation. The risks are distributed fairly based on who is actually best equipped to handle them. And because these forms have been used globally for decades, they are totally time-tested for possible flaws. Plus, they're familiar. A contractor in Dubai and a project manager in London both know exactly what Clause 8 or Clause 20 means. That familiarity leads to fewer disputes, heavily minimized legal costs, and the huge convenience of having a comprehensive contract that is practically ready to use right off the shelf. Section 3. The FIDIC Rainbow Suite. So FIDIC isn't just one single book. It's more like an entire ecosystem or a toolbox perfectly tailored to specific project delivery methods. Let's start with the most famous one, the Red Book. We'll be focusing on the 1999 edition here. This is the classic built-only form of contract. You use this when the employer or their consultants has already finished the design and the contractor is basically just hired to execute and construct that design. It is massively popular internationally and especially dominant in regions like the Middle East. Next up, we have the Yellow Book. This is the plant and design build contract. You pull this one out when the contractor actually takes on the responsibility for the design. So the employer hands over their requirements, and the contractor designs and executes the works to meet them. You'll see this all the time for electrical or mechanical plant works, where the contractor's specialized design expertise is absolutely critical. Then we have the Silver Book. This is the EPC, or turnkey contract. Now, the absolute crucial word to remember here is certainty. This book is built for projects like BOT, Build, Operate, Transfer, where having total certainty of the final cost and the exact completion date is just non-negotiable for the employer. Because of that extreme demand for certainty, the contractor is forced to assume a much wider share of the project's risk than they would under the Red or Yellow Books. And finally, rounding out the core suite, we have the Green Book. This is the short form of contract. It's highly recommended for engineering and building work of relatively small capital value. It's really perfect for fairly simple or repetitive works, jobs with a short duration, or just projects where you honestly don't need specialist subcontracts. It basically strips away all that heavy administration of the Red Book for projects that just plain don't need it. All right, Section 4. Evolving rules, 1987 versus 1999. Now, what's really interesting about this is how much things shifted. FIDIC definitely didn't stop innovating. The 1999 edition heavily modernized contract administration from those old 87 forms. For example, advance payments and paying for off-site materials were introduced to really help out the contractor's early cash flow. Value engineering was fully provided for too. And honestly, perhaps my absolute favorite addition for a contractor's peace of mind, the 1999 edition introduced a provision allowing the contractor to officially ensure the employer actually has the financial arrangements in place to pay for the project. Because, let's be real, we all know the eternal struggle of making sure the client can actually pay the bill.
But we have to talk about the most dramatic shift in power dynamics between the two editions. Under the old 1987 rules, the engineer was legally viewed as this completely impartial, independent figure standing right between the employer and the contractor. But in the 1999 Red Book, that changed entirely. The engineer is now expressly designated as the employer's agent. They strictly act on behalf of the employer. And think about it. This massive shift in the engineer's role meant we needed a totally new way to handle disputes. Under the 1987 contract, if there was a dispute, the engineer made the formal decision. But wait, if the 1999 rules now explicitly say the engineer is the employer's agent, they aren't an impartial third party anymore. They can't objectively judge a dispute. So, because of this, the 1999 version stripped that dispute resolution power away from the engineer and introduced a completely new mechanism, the Dispute Adjudication Board, or DAB. This independent panel of experts was brought in to neutrally handle conflicts and keep the whole process fair. Which brings us to Section 5, your contractual foundation. And there you have it. You've just firmly grasped the macro-level structure of the entire FIDIC universe. You now know why the industry standardized with FIDIC, what those different colored books actually mean for risk allocation, and how the rules had to modernize in 1999 to reflect real-world power dynamics. But guys, this is just the beginning. Now that we know exactly which book to pull off the shelf, in our next explainer, we're going to crack that book open. We will dissect the actual documents inside, things like the letter of acceptance, the conditions, the specifications, and we'll examine exactly how they govern a project and their absolute hierarchy. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a provocative thought to carry into your workday. Go take a look at the contract for the site you're working on right now. Seriously, go read it. What are the major differences between your current project's contract and the FIDIC standard? How is the risk really being allocated? Are you actually protected? Take some time to think about it, and I will see you in the next explainer where we dive deep into the contract.